Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to go over my bank's valuation sheet um, to find the intrinsic value of banking and to do a more informed investment decision when trying to buy shares of a bank. So, before we begin, if you like my spreadsheets, you can just go to my Patreon page. The link will be down below. There you'll be able to download it, have full access to it, and do your own research on. Okay, and also if you like the content, please hit the like button and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. So without further ado, let's begin. On the first block, what we want to do is put in the stock ticker symbol, and we're going to go with JP Morgan for this. Okay, as you can see, most of the data are already automatically filled in. So now the only thing that we need to do is find the 10-year risk-free rate to see if it is correct. And as always, like the other spreadsheets, all we have to do is plug in the data in the green boxes. Everything in blue or other color automatically fill in. Um, so let's continue. For this, we have the link here, and we need to see the 10-year, okay? And it's at 455. Okay, so we plug in 455. And this is all set. Now we need to do our first valuation, okay? The first valuation is the dividend discounted valuation. And for this, we need to find the dividend payout for all these 5 years. So what we do, we come to again to another link, which is Yahoo, our first link, and we plug in JP Morgan. Okay, once we do that, we come to historical data, and we want to do a span of 5 years, and we come to dividends only. All right, once we do that, we get the list, and we can see that they're paying per quarter. Okay, so one thing is this that is in yellow, it means that we don't have to do it all the time, but sometimes we might have to. And what happens is, as you can see, the formula is by four. That means 4 quarters, okay? Because they pay quarterly. But let's say the company paid yearly, I'm sorry, monthly. We would need to put a 12. Okay, we just substitute that 4 by a 12, and that would give us an accurate intrinsic value. But here we don't have to do anything because they do pay quarterly. So all we have to do is plug in the data in here, and we'll get a growth rate. We might want to change the projection here, and we'll get the intrinsic value. That's what we're gonna do right now. And for our first year, we take out these four, and we can see that it's 105. We're gonna use the calculator just to see how it works. Okay, we plug in the first quarter, and now it's one, right? Yep, one for all 3 quarters. So all we do is pull one and drag it down, and we can see that we came to 101. Okay, so we plug in 101, and now we do the same thing for the rest. I'm not gonna do the same thing, but that you got the idea. Um, Second year is 1. Okay, third one, another 4. This is going to come to 90.90. Fourth one, this is 90 as well. And this one, 80. This is 83, I think. Let me see. Now drag it down. Yeah, 83. Alright, so that means I'm just gonna leave like this. Okay. So once we do that, we get the growth rate, and the growth rate for JP Morgan is a 5.14% on the dividend discount valuation. So then we can leave the growth rate projection at 4%, and that's because banks, they tend to be slow growthers. So we need to have a growth rate very small. If you're not comfortable using your own, you can just come here and take analysts estimated growth, and that would be for JP Morgan would be 3%. Okay, you can put 3%. I think it will be 4. I'm gonna go with 4. um, but you can go with their projection. Okay, and with this, they're going to give us an intrinsic value of $84. So according to the dividend discount valuation, JP Morgan is currently very overvalued, but we need to do more metrics to get a better perspective of the intrinsic value of this company. So the next one is going to be the discounted earnings valuation. Okay, so this is going to be according to their earnings, and that's a great way to evaluate a company. It's one of my favorite. It's the discounted earnings valuation, and also one of the easiest because all the data that we need to do this automatically fills in. So the only thing that we need to change is the growth rate, and we don't have to because we're going to keep it at 4 actually. So um, what this does, it takes the earnings per share and the growth rate with the WACC, and it calculates by itself. Okay, the only thing comes in is the PE ratio times 2 along the way, and what this does is it's gonna we have the formulas here as you can see, and what this does, it's gonna take the earnings per share and take to the future into 6 years. Okay, so in 6 years this should be the earnings per share for JP Morgan, and it gives us an intrinsic value in that time. Okay, and what it does then, we have to bring it to the past, and that's going to give us our 1 year target estimate of JP Morgan's intrinsic value. So within 1 year target, JP Morgan should be at $236. Okay, so that's our intrinsic value for the discounted earnings valuation. um, way way above. So according to this, we should be JP Morgan should be undervalued. Okay, so now we need to do multiples valuation. We don't have to change anything, and why? Because automatically everything fills in, and we already have the companies here. Okay, if we didn't, let's say we didn't have one. Okay, as you can see, we wouldn't get it, so we wouldn't have to put one. The only time we would have to change here is if the company we were researching on would be in one of these 4. Okay, so if we had JP Morgan over here, of course we would have to change it. I'm actually going to put Bank of America, just as you can see, the data automatically fills in, and once we do that, everything automatically calculates, and it's going to give us an intrinsic value of 149. Okay, so it's right on the spot. Um, According to the multiples valuation, JP Morgan it's at the intrinsic value actually. Okay, so again, one more valuation done, and we have 2 more to go. The PE based valuation, which is one of my favorites. It's going to evaluate according to the PE of the company, and all we need to do is get the 5 year high PE and the low 5 year high the low 5 year PE. I'm sorry. Okay, so for that we need to come to this link, and we just plug in JP Morgan. You don't have to use my links. You can use your own links if you want. I put these for the because I think it's easier, and it's the ones that I use. So what we do is we come to price ratios, okay, and we put in a span of 5 years, and we need to take the high on the P ratio. As you can see, it's right here, 13, 14, and we plug in 13, 14, and now we want the low, and the lowest point is 849. Yep, 849. Okay, so once we put 849, it should automatically do it. Okay, yep, everything automatically filled in, and this is going to give us a 10-year future intrinsic value of 268 and the present intrinsic value of 103. Okay, so according to the P-based valuation, the intrinsic value should be at 103, okay, $103. And we get a 10-year intrinsic value of 268. So this means within 10 years, the intrinsic value of JP Morgan should be at 268, okay, the price. And now for the last one, we have Graham's valuation. He was actually one of the most famous investors of all times, and his formula is very interesting. Okay, we don't have to do much. Everything automatically fills in. The only thing that we need to make sure is the growth rate is correct and the current yield on triple corporate bonds is correct. The growth rate is correct. We're going to use the 4%. And the current yield, let's just make sure that it is correct. 561. 561. So it is correct. Okay. So automatically it's going to give us an intrinsic value of $112. Okay, $112. And according to Graham's valuation, this is our intrinsic value. And then the last thing we need to see is the dividend safety. And automatically, again, just does it by itself. The dividend safety for JP Morgan is 24. Okay, that's good. Okay, that means they won't be cutting dividends very soon or at any time at all. Okay. Now this is where everything gets an averaged out. Okay, all the valuations come to one. And we come to a final intrinsic value of 137. So this would be the most accurate intrinsic value of the company. Okay, this is the number we should go by. And according to this, JP Morgan is actually overvalued at the current moment, okay, by 9%. So if we were to consider buying shares of Bank of America, we would want to see at least at 109. We would want to see Bank of America come down to $109. We can come here and see just what time did they ever reach 100, 109. Okay, we can come here, and the last time it was at 109. It was last year at 22. So it is not very hard for JP Morgan to come to these prices. I don't know when, but it could happen. So this actually could be a really good buying price with a 20% discount, unless you want to take a risk and see if it would go lower and buy it cheaper. But this would be a good buying price. Okay. Also, we can see that the analysis 1 year target, it's at 169, so a lot higher than our intrinsic value. But yeah, that's how you do it. That's how you find the intrinsic value of a company. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was informative. And if you have any questions or suggestions, you can comment below and let's have a discussion.